Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first live stream back of the new season. Sorry, it's all very last minute. Just going to be looking at a few of the player prices, and I think a few things like that. Some first thoughts to the game. Yeah, some key things that I'm looking at. Um, some key things that I found, some key players, the prices that I'm really interested in, and then have a discussion with you all um, about my thoughts generally. So yeah, let's get right to it. Let me just share this. I hope you guys like the new look out of the stream. Before I get into all of the team and everything, if you guys don't follow me already, below is on the right hand side is my Twitter page. So if you guys could all go and make sure you follow me over there, that would be really appreciated. We have a very exciting new series coming on YouTube, so stay tuned to that. It was meant to be the first big one. It's coming Tuesday evening, but I thought I had half an hour now, so why not jump on and go for it now. So let's get straight into it. So let's have a look. So we'll get more into the stream and everything on Tuesday when we get into it. But if we have a good look at my first team, so this was just something I sort of pulled together sort of earlier, sort of my first musing. I haven't really made many drafts of it, but yeah, I'm just gonna have a run through. Let me know, guys, in the chat how the stream quality is. I've got a new laptop and things, so hoping, fingers crossed, it's a lot better than it was last season. Had a little rearrange of stuff, so hoping you liking the new layout. So yeah, let me know how it's looking and everything like that. So my initial thoughts, if we go on transfers and just have a look at some of the player prices, someone I want to bring to your attention is this guy here, Nathan Ferguson at Crystal Palace. 4.0 defender looks to be the one which we will all need in our game week 1 teams. Quotes that have come out, and you'll see on my Twitter page, I've put them there. So yeah, I've put them there. He looks like he's going to be starting at right back for them ahead of Joel Ward. So definitely think he's one that we need to start considering in our game week 1 teams. A few other players I think are really worth considering. I've currently got Trent and Robertson in there. I think at 7 and 7.5, they're great value. I think a lot of people are looking to go with the Salah Mane double up to start with. Because the lack of Man City might not be playing because of the Champions League, and same with Man U. But I will be picking someone like Aubameyang to fill that slot that I can easily make the. Okay, I can't exactly make it loud and try and turn your volume up or something, but I can have a look at that after. But I'll try and speak up a little bit. It does seem a bit quiet, but it is at the max at the moment. So thanks for the feedback. I'll try and deal with it, but I hope you can read everything better. I think one of the key things I had last season was everything was a bit blurred because of the laptop that I was using. It didn't really have enough power to deal with everything. So hopefully this is much better. But yeah, so I will be going with. So you can see that I've got De Bruyne in my team. So if he doesn't play, I can take him out and put in someone like Alba, and it's not messing up my team structure. Whereas I know that I want Salah and Trent long term, and that's the way that I'm going to be playing this season. I want those two. I think they're a great price. Very lucky to have them in at what they are. So I'll be starting, with something like that. And if Greenwood doesn't play, then Greenwood can make way, and we'll bring in a 7 million or something like that in there. So if a couple of you guys asking in the Leeds and West Brom assets, I think something that I want to start off by saying is that I think the newly promoted teams are someone I'm always very wary of. We rarely see any of these players come straight into the league and start firing a lot. So I think there's a lot of value options this season in around teams that we know will perform in the league. So the likes of Suchek, I've got in my team at 5, St. Maximan at only 5.5, and especially in defence, there's a lot of good value that I don't think that we need to be stretching towards those newly promoted teams. I think there's a big risk there, and I don't see anyone that stands out as of yet that is such a bargain and is likely to hit the ground running as well as some of these players who are already in the league. So I will not be having a newly promoted player. It's one of my rules. No newly promoted players, and I rarely have a new signing in my team. You'll see that I don't have any new signings in my team. So yeah, I tend to stay away from them. I think another option that I really like is Vinagre. I'm very set on having this back 5 or very. I know people say that your team will change a lot for the first draft, but I don't see my defense changing very much unless there's a real opening 5 tough fixtures for sort of Palace, Burnley, or Wolves. But Burnley defense, we know how good they are. Absolutely, we know how strong they are. Palace defender at 4.0, we know how well they can defend, and same with Wolves. 2 of them at 4.5 and 1 of them at 4.0 is such good value. I really don't think there's much better value. You guys may have seen, if you haven't yet, I put out, let me find it, this thread earlier on why I want to be going with 4 at the back. If you guys haven't read it, I really would urge you to go and do so. It looks at the sort of previous best winners, what they did last season, how well they performed, and it comes out and why I think sort of the value and everything like that means that 4 at the back is the best sort of formation to go with. If you guys haven't, go and check this out on my page. Give it a read. No Chelsea assets. I'm waiting to see fixtures with Chelsea. I do worry, as a Chelsea fan, it always puts me off slightly. But I think we don't know how they'll hit the ground. You expect them to hit the ground running. Some great players we've brought in this season, but I just like to start the season with players that I know are consistent and players that I know are going to perform well. Now, if Man U and Man City won't play, then someone like Martial, who's in there at the moment, could easily be replaced with the likes of Timo Werner. Davies in your team, unlikely to play. He's probably going to go out on loan, but the 4.5 forwards this season are very limited. None of them, I don't think, are going to get any game time, really. Wickham got a little bit. This guy got a little bit in at the back end of last season, but I think it's really tough. I think the midfield is amazing this season, but I think there's a lot of value everywhere on the pitch. I think the forward there's a couple of them, like Chris Wood, who I think, okay, if you need a cheap forward, but I wouldn't be picking a cheap forward. I'd be looking at those cheap midfielders, which I think might offer much better value. I plan on lining with a 4-4-2, sort of game week 1, probably the way I'm going to go. So yeah, but at the moment, this is sort of a 4-4-2. I think there's so much value in defence. It really allows you to have that sort of strength and depth in the midfield. I've got Salah, Aubameyang, Greenwood, Martial, Jimenez all starting for me just because I've taken that one extra decision to play a sort of 4.5 defender over a 5 mil, 6 mil mid. And if you guys haven't read it, that is all explained in here as to why. So if we look, it's what you're comparing it to. If you have a 4.5 defender, it's going to score the same points as about a 6 mil, 5.5 mil mid, and it's just the amount of money that you get left over from them. The forwards, I don't think they're overpriced. I think Martial at 9 is a great price, and I think Jimenez 8.5 is very reasonable. I saw someone put in the chat Ings, and I think it's very interesting that we've got Ings and Jimenez priced at the same price point, because they're two players who inherently offer very similar things and will continue to do so. I've gone with Jimenez because of how consistent I know Wolves have been over a couple of seasons, and I just again, my game week 1 team, I like to have that consistency. I like to have players who've done it for a couple of seasons that I can sort of bank on having a fairly good start. Because I think Ings will either hit the ground running and be explosive again, or he will go back to where he was before. So I think Jimenez is likely to be in there for me at the moment, just ticking along, but a lot can change. A lot can change. I think a really interesting position this season is actually the goalkeepers, because I think they've done a good job at pricing them to the most part. If we sort by price, let me know, guys, who is in goal for you all? Who are you guys starting in goal? Because I've currently got Ryan and Button just sort of I just put them in when I was doing my draft, because I haven't. It will take a long time to decide who I'm going in goal. When we look at 4.5s, very few stand out that will be starting or cheaper. There are potentially Aston Villa goalkeepers, Steer and Nyland are both at 4, and we don't know when Heaton's coming back. West Brom and the newly promoted goalkeepers are all 4. In the middle, we've got a lot of good 5 goalkeepers. 4.5 is fairly limited. One a lot of people are talking about is Ramsdale of McCarthy, another good one at Southampton. Ramsdale coming in to Sheffield United, looks like he'll be starting if Henderson doesn't come back. Then if he comes in at 4.5, he'll be in most teams, I imagine. He'll be a great pick. So definitely someone I'm looking out for there. No Man City assets. He was in for Aubameyang. I did have De Bruyne in there, but it's unlikely that they play game week 1. They won't play game week 1 if they beat Lyon in the Champions League tonight. So that's the sort of guessing game there, that it will be De Bruyne. If not, it will be Aubameyang in there at the moment for me. But again, a lot can change. A lot of you talking about the Spurs defence. If we go and have a look at Spurs. So Lloris in at 5.5, I actually think is an interesting price. I think it's probably 0.5 too much for me to go with him. Although I put a tweet out and I got a lot of my stats from Fantasy Football Hub, and if you guys don't subscribe to them, there's a link in my description which will give you 25% off. I get a lot of my stats from there, and a lot of my decisions I make are based on this. A lot of the Opta stats that we get. Sorry, the formatting's gone slightly strange when I squash my screen, but it's where I get a lot of it from, and he's actually got the highest points per game out of any goalkeeper this season, Lloris, even higher than the likes of Pope, Alisson, who else you want to throw in there, I don't know, but he's up there. He's number 1. I also put a tweet out about that yesterday, so if you guys don't, I think Lloris at 5 would have been in a lot of people's plans, but his points per game is so high. I think it was hard. I think Davies is an interesting one. Wait and see what happens with Danny Rose, because straight away they have a lot of rotation in that point. Jose does rotate less, so Davies at 5 is an interesting option. He will probably be the number 1 choice. But what's interesting here is that he will not be getting you attacking returns at all, really. And so then I look at my team now and players I've got in there. So he's not going to be placing Trent and Robertson. That's a no-go. Those 2 are staying in my team and will be in my Game Week 1 team. You have my word on it. Vinagre in there. Burnley. So then the other 2 are Burnley and Wolves. And do I expect Spurs to keep more clean sheets that it's worth investing 0.5 to go Spurs? I mean, a lot of it will be on fixtures, right? So if we get good opening fixtures for Spurs, then it may be something that I decide to change. But at the moment, I don't find space that they are worth that 0.5 up on what I've got at the moment. So there are a lot of good value players, and I think we'll continue to discover them. There are a couple of 4.0 defenders which look really interesting. Interesting one that actually I started the season with last year I don't know about the newly promoted teams, but I'd prefer to stick elsewhere. We know Palace can defend. Johnson of West Ham. Started the last few games, a very promising youngster. I thought last season would be his season to get into the team, but it wasn't. I started game week 1 with him in my team, but I wonder now if this is going to be his break-in season. So again, it's a 4.0 defender along with Ferguson that we do know that we're likely to have that 4.0 defender who we can fit in. So if you're going 3 at the back, you know that you want your 5th defender to be 4.0, but if you can get Ferguson or Johnson in there as your potentially starting defender, then that's great to have that extra reliability that if an injury or something comes in, you have 15 players early on to go in. Will Aguero, I don't want either Man City forward. I think straight up, if you're going Man City attackers, it is Lloris, it is Jesus or KDB. So those are the go-to for me. Potentially Foden, potentially Mahrez, both very nicely priced at 8.5 and 6.5 together. But if we just flick to Man City, we see down the right here that we've got Sterling at 11.5 and De Bruyne, and then Mahrez, Foden, nicely priced there. But these two down here in Aguero and Jesus will rotate next season. I think we're fairly sure of that. So I think we can be fairly certain that those two will rotate too much for them to make them options. I will not be going there. I think one big thing I did last season badly is picking players who rotate too much, and I especially picked them at the wrong time, which makes me think that it's not a good decision. You obviously can pick these players if you pick them at the right time, but I won't be taking that risk in next season. I'll be really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on who will definitely be making your team next season. Yeah, let me know. Let me know who you're gonna go in with your game week 1. Yeah, who are you guys gonna have in your game week 1 teams? And yeah, let me know who's going to go in, who you're thinking of, and we can have a quick discussion about them. I can't be live for too long, but Tuesday night we'll be doing a big stream. So you guys may have seen I've got a new series coming out starting on Tuesday, and what it is sort of a weekly community guest Q&A. So we've got a guest yet to be announced coming on Tuesday. That tweet will be going out later today. It will be Tuesday 8 o'clock. And it's for you guys to come on. We'll discuss our teams, but more importantly, we'll be there to answer your guys' questions. Anything that you want to talk about, there'll be 2 of us here. So me and then someone from the community. So if you guys haven't, there is a post yesterday at some point when I put out, let me try and find it here. If you guys go and comment the accounts that you want to have on. We've also already had plenty of guys sort of wanting their favorite accounts to be on. So if you guys want to input on that, go on that post and let me know who you want to have on. But that's starting on Tuesday evening. It'll be once a week, and we've got the first guest lined up already to fill that gap. You're probably wondering why there's a big gap below where I am. I didn't have time to change the stream when I decided to go live. That's where they'll be. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see new guests on every week to talk to you guys about FPL and the new season. The Liverpool trio: Robertson, Trent, Salah, definitely in my team. Yeah, De Bruyne as well, one City player. Yeah, I think the way that I plan on having it is I will want, if let's say no one blanked game week 1, I would have double Liverpool defence. That's for certain. Salah's not nailed in my team because of the amount of value in other players there are. I will have a Man U attacker, probably Greenwood or Martial. I think the extra money to go to Bruno is too much over the top of those two. I think Greenwood will have a great season. I really think I'll start with him. I'll probably have one of Jimenez and Ings, and then I will line up with a 4-4-2 with that, most likely the defence that I've got at the moment. One of you asked in terms of Braithwaite in the Everton defence. I think he's far from nailed. I think there's better options to be going with. If we look at it, there's Keane, Mina, Holgate, um, all wanting that space. So I think unless we get confirmation there are better 4.0 defenders in our teams, and we know Everton are very suspect defensively. We know Palace can't attack too well, so what they have to do is defend well. So I really like Ferguson, the new Wan-Bissaka, as a lot of people are saying. Um, if you guys don't already, please hit that subscribe button. It would really appreciate if we can try and hit. We're about 30 short of 400 before the start of the season. That would be really appreciated. So if any of you guys don't already, can you hit the subscribe button down below? It would be really appreciated. But yeah, I think I got a couple of threads coming out for you guys in the next couple of days. One is my review of my season last year, which has some key talking points on hits and things like that in. And then my second one is sort of my top 10 ideas and my things that I'm going to be taking into next season. One of them is leaving 0.5 in the bank in game week 1, and I think this is so important. The reason for this is when you set up your game week 1 team, everyone plans to roll their game week 1 transfer. Might be slightly different this year with blanks and things like that, but prices of the players who are highly owned and going to be highly owned will rise on that first Friday night, if not that Saturday night. You don't want to have to be making transfers on those days to make the price jumps that you need to get the players before they rise. Because if players are rising, and you don't have 0.5 in the bank, instantly you're making a downgrade on someone in your team. You're having to sell someone in your team for someone who's cheaper. So you're instantly making a downgrade. Whereas if you have a 7.5 and then some other 7.5 rises and does really well, you can make that jump with 0.5 in the bank. It's quite hard to explain, but last year really, really struggled because of it. My first few transfers were all downgrades, and I really struggled until I got that money in the bank, which I could then use. But there were a lot of price changes early on that having that 0.5 in the bank really helps you get on those highly owned assets that are going to do well and are going to rise in price. More importantly, to get on those high value players early on is really important to have that 0.5 in the bank. Greenwood or Bruno? I think Bruno's too expensive. I'll rephrase it. I think Bruno is priced well, and I think he's priced well in terms of Salah, De Bruyne, Sterling, Aubameyang. I think he's priced fine in comparison to those to be less. I think that's a good decision. But I think he's priced too high in comparison to the other Man United assets. I think Greenwood, Martial, and then Rashford as well are all priced too low. I think that's the key thing that we're sort of taking out in here, is that the likes of Rashford is a mid at 9.5, Greenwood at 7.5, and then Martial at 9. I don't think Fernandes is worth the extra money on top of them. Martinez is a good option in goal. Again, Leno has done nothing to get himself dropped. I think that's very unfair if they drop Leno. We don't know how long he's out for. I think he's probably likely to be back game week 1, if not just after. So it's a little big risk to go in for Martinez. I think he's too good to sit on Arsenal's bench, but I don't know he's going to start well enough to put him in my team. So the goalkeeper is a big, and I'm writing stuff at the moment on all of this. Goalkeepers are my choice of goalkeepers. It's going to be coming out soon. I've got it all sort of threads written in my drafts, ready to go for when the game launched. I don't want to bombard you with them all at the same time, but they're there ready to go. Yeah, they're ready. But yeah, guys, just let me know who you plan on having in your game week one team. Um, Key thoughts from you guys about anyone that you've seen that you think's really overpriced. I don't think, apart from maybe slightly Bruno, I don't think anyone's to the point of, oh, one player I was very interested in knowing, Matt Van Arnholt is 5.5. I was really hoping they'd price him in at 5. I thought he'd be great value in at 5. I've just got a low laptop battery message, so let me plug my charger in. Plug this in before the stream quality drops right off. Let's plug it in that one. Sorry. Why St. Maximin? So I think straight away, St. Maximin is priced well. 5.5, I think, is a great price for him. It was kind of what I was left with at the end. Salah, De Bruyne, Greenwood, Martial, Jimenez doesn't leave much in the bank. But I think St. Maximin at 5.5 is very, very nice. We know what he can offer. We know what he's capable of. And I think he's only going to get better when he finds his feet more and more in the league. I think he's a good price. If we look at who else there is at this sort of 5.5, who in here are you likely to pick? He's definitely the standout pick for me at 5.5. I don't see many other people. Armstrong, maybe. That's a good shout in there at 5.5. Lundstrom there. St. Maximin, Armstrong, great picks, I think. Brownhill maybe get some minutes. So Will is asking in the chat, Taylor or Peters. So I'll take that and I'll look at the Burnley defence overall. The key thing is that we do have Taylor, Loughton, Peters, Bardsley. The 2 left backs and 2 right backs are all priced at 4.5. There is a slight chance that we don't know which start. I think if Bardsley stays, then he's first choice at right back. So if Bardsley's there and he signed a new contract now, I think he'll probably be the one I go with, because I think he's more likely to start than him rotating between Peters and Taylor. I think Bardsley's probably the most nailed out of all of them. What I think about Foden, I think he's priced very well. I think we're very fortunate to have Foden at 6.5. Sorry, that's Liverpool. I think he's priced very nicely at 6.5. Yeah, I agree. Foden is on the cheaper side of things for sure. Definitely on the cheaper side of things. Very happy to have him at that price. So yeah, what was I gonna? So he's very nice at that price. I like him a lot. Antonio, 6.5 forward, good price. Will be playing up front again, I highly imagine. Good price for him. I want to know whether, I think his end of season form a lot of it was driven by what they needed, and I wonder game week 1 that same motivation's not going to be there. But a good price as well. I don't see anyone who's overpriced, really, that's overpriced so much that I wouldn't pay for them. I think Bruno probably. I'm not going to pay that for him. But elsewhere, I don't. I'm not sure. Thoughts on Fall Guys? Top game. And if you don't play it, get on it. What do you think of Ramsdale? If Ramsdale comes in at 4.5 million at Sheffield United, he will be my goalkeeper this season. For sure. Souček, again, an absolute bargain. I think a lot of players have come in cheaper than we expected. I'm fairly certain there are virtually no players who have been overpriced this season. You guys can prove me wrong, tell me some player names, but no one stands out for me that is considerably more than I thought they would be. I think the forwards are less favourably priced. I think Firmino, I'd probably go with, okay, but he's not someone who's going to be highly owned anyway. But that's too expensive at 9.5. He should be down here. He should be at 8. Yeah. Mopai in at 6.5 as well. I hadn't seen that. Who else have we got? I think Ryan, nice to see some of you guys back. Thanks for waiting for me to be back live again. Do I think Greenwood is priced fairly? I think he's underpriced. Yeah, I think he is underpriced, Greenwood. If he's overpriced if they sign Sancho. If they sign Sancho, then none of us buy Greenwood. If they don't sign Sancho, then about 90% of us buy Greenwood. So that's my thoughts on this. I love him at 7.5. A midfielder as well. He's getting an extra point for a goal and an extra point for a clean sheet, which Man U will probably keep 10, 15 of this season. So a great price for Greenwood and a great position change for him. Very favourable. Yeah, like that a lot. Yeah, if Sancho joins, then that changes a lot. It does change a lot because then it makes Martial and Rashford slightly less nailed and everything like that. So Salah or Mane, for me Salah stands out. They're the same price. If Mane was even 0.5 more, it makes it a very difficult decision. But the fact that Salah's on some corners and he's on penalties, it has to be Salah for me. That penalty swings it a lot. You think Mane should have come in? Yeah, I think Mane should have come in at 0.5 cheaper. Come in at 11.5, the same as Sterling and the same as De Bruyne. That gives managers a real dilemma. I think pricing him at the same as Salah, I think we'll see a lot of price falls for Mane early on. Martial is a decent price. My guess on how Chelsea... So let's say Chelsea sign Havertz and we sign Havertz. Here's how I think we'll line up. It will be Kante CDM. We'll then have probably Mount and Havertz in midfield. And then Pulisic, Werner, Ziyech as our front three. It's very flexible and that is very attacking. I wonder if he'll favour maybe benching Mount and playing Kovacic and Kante at CDM with Havertz, Pulisic, Ziyech and Werner. But those four for me will be in our attack. Ings or Adams? So if we go to Southampton, Adams at 6 is a favourably priced. I think just you don't know who's going to start out of those sort of bottom three. It won't probably be Obafemi, but Long and Adams together, it could be either of them. You think Aubameyang is a priority? Now, I think Aubameyang might be one of those players who I actually think and sorry, no Werner as a Chelsea fan. I actually being a Chelsea fan puts me off owning our players. It makes me more nervous watching a game anyway, being a Chelsea fan. So having to own their assets as well is another level of stress. And I'm always pessimistic about us, and I never am too confident in our players and what's going to happen. So I would probably wait and see what happens. But if Man U don't start, then I think Werner starting in my team over Martial is pretty likely. Aubameyang, it's very hard. If we look at these premium midfielders down to Fernandes, Aubameyang, Mane, Salah, De Bruyne, Sterling, Fernandes, you're probably going to pick 2, right? Maybe 3, but probably only 2 of them. I think Alba's slightly overpriced. I don't think he's at Salah's level. I think it's very difficult. Yeah, you're going to have to pick 2 of this 6 players. That's very difficult to do. I like De Bruyne for consistency. I'll probably go one consistent and one explosive. That would be De Bruyne and someone like Salah, or De Bruyne and Aubameyang. Those are probably the two that I'll go to. But again, it's a lot up in the air, and a lot of it depends on those early fixtures. And if we do have someone like Man U blanking and Man City blanking especially, I can line up with Salah and Aubameyang for the first week or the first 2 weeks, depending on how far City go in the Champions League. And then I can review after 2 weeks who I think out of Salah and Aubameyang is worth keeping, and ditch one of those for De Bruyne or Sterling. You want Salah, KDB. I just think that's really tough, because if I take out Greenwood and put in Aubameyang, for example, that leaves me, I'm 4 mil short. So if I'm putting Chris Wood in here, for example, so on a decent price, again, a decent price. I don't see many overpriced players. So I'm still £1.5 million short, and I'm playing 4 at the back. So then Jimenez is going to have to get downgraded to a 7 mil forward. So if I put in, I mean, it's not great viewing down here, is it? If I was just to put, I mean, then this is the thing. Okay, so let's say I don't want that, and I go for a 7 mil midfielder, and I put in a, yeah, I think there's so much value in. So then I know I've got too many Liverpool, but if I, in theory, then I'd have 7.5 for a midfielder. Okay, and then I keep my Greenwood. Oh, I've already got, yeah. So then Salah, De Bruyne, Greenwood, St. Maximin, Aubameyang, Wood. Okay, it's possible. It's definitely possible, but I'm ditching. I've brought in there. I've sold Jimenez and Jimenez and Martial for Wood and Aubameyang. That's a tough call. That's very difficult. Interesting to see the way I start, but because Man City don't play, I'll probably only have 2 premiums in my midfield. Guys, just get your last questions in. This, I do kind of need to run off in a minute, but I will be back for a full hour on Tuesday with our guest, which is to be announced later today, so look out for that. It will be on Twitter, and I'll be live for an hour every single week, if not more, with random ones coming in on my own to answer all your questions and to go through. We will, by the end of it, go through pretty much every player in this game. Souček's price at 5.5 is great. I think, as Ant A says in the chat, Fellaini 2.0 is a really good way of putting it. He's got really good in the air. Moyes likes to push him forward, as he did with Fellaini. So I think he's got a lot going for him. Next season. But guys, that's just my first thoughts. There's a lot of changes we've already made looking at my team. So I'm looking forward to what we can pull together next season. Yeah, he's 5.0 on his own. If he was at 4.5, he'd be at everyone's teams. 5 is a really reasonable price for him. So guys, please make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Check out my 2 sponsors in the chat, in the description. If you want to sign up for our Fantasy Football Hub, there's a link in the description, which will get you 25% off. I'll be using their stats on stream, so you can see how to use them if you want to look at that before investing. But it's great to get it before the season started to get that 25% off. And then FPL merch as well. Get all your mini league prizes in there with them. He's a Kickstarter. He's a great guy as well. So make sure you're looking at his website. Give him a few clicks as well, and a few follows on Twitter as well, and let him know that you saw his new stream sponsorship on the bottom of my stream. That'd be great if you guys could just drop him a follow and check them out. But we will be back on Tuesday to look at the final little bits and bobs. Go through all the prices, have our first guest on. So that is Tuesday at 8 p.m. we will be live by then, with our first guest for about an hour, going through everything that you guys want us to. So I look forward to it. But please hit that subscribe button. Will take you literally 2 seconds and would mean so much to me to try and get the support on these streams going forward. But yeah, guys, I hope you're enjoying the FPL launch day, as it's called. I'm loving it, loving the stuff on Twitter at the moment. A lot more to come from me this season. My content schedule, where this stream will fit into as well, is coming out in the next week probably. Got giveaways coming on Twitter as well, so make sure you look out for them. Exciting year for me ahead, and I'm really looking forward to it. But thanks for dropping in, guys, at late notice, and we'll be back on Tuesday, every Tuesday from now until the end of the season, to help answer your questions. So thanks, guys, and I will see you on Twitter, or I'll see you on Tuesday. Cheers, guys.